All right, everybody do your quorum dance. We're a little light on attendance thus far. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6 o'clock, and I will call the Missoula City Council meeting of November 1st, 2021 to order. Pardon me. Please let the record note that all council members are in attendance, but for Mr. Von Lossberg, Ms. West, Ms. Jones, Ms. West just came, Ms. Jones, and Ms. Harp. And we may still have some of those folks joining us. We have minutes of our last meeting, and without objection, they'll be approved. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our schedule of committee meetings. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks, Mayor. Again, we have a very short committee schedule, folks. City council committees are held on Wednesdays, and this week we have one committee on November 3rd to access. Hang on just a second here. Let me share my screen. So here is the way that you access all of our committee meetings. You'll go to the City of Missoula's website, your favorite search engine. If you type in City of Missoula, likely have us right there at the top of your search results. You're going to land on this page. There will be a beautiful picture here in the center. And right below it is a meetings button right here. And if you click on that meetings button, you're going to be taken to Agenda Central for city meetings. And all of our committee meetings and board meetings and city council are right here. This week, the only meeting that we have scheduled is the Public Works Committee. In order to access that agenda, it says agenda here, but you're going to want to click on one of these other two links here, HTML or PDF. If you click on that HTML link, it will take you to the agenda and you'll see the date, time, and place of the meeting, the members of the council that are members of this committee meeting. There's a join link here to attend by computer. There's also instructions here about how you can dial into the meeting if you don't have a computer, and the webinar ID and password that Zoom requires to join our Zoom webinars is there. As always, if you press 9 to raise your hand during this meeting or a committee meeting or any of our public meetings, that's the way that you can be recognized by our chairs to be called on during the meeting. If you don't want to attend virtually, you also have the option to watch our live stream on our YouTube channel. We stream all our meetings live there. And of course, Missoula Community Access Television covers us live over on Spectrum Cable Channel 190. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. I will note for the record that Ms. Jones has joined the meeting. We will move on to the public comment portion of our agenda. This is your opportunity to comment on items not elsewhere on the agenda this evening. Ms. Becerra, did you have something?
I wanted to note that the Public Works Committee meeting has been moved to 1 p.m. on Wednesday.
Oh, thank you. And continuing on with the public comment portion of our agenda. If you are interested in commenting on anything not elsewhere on the agenda, raise your hand in the attendees window, please, and I'll call on you. And we don't appear to have any general public comment this evening. So we'll move on to our consent agenda. That agenda was approved generally unanimously in council standing committees. Pardon me. And we save a little time by voting on these items as a package. Ms. Rabine will read the list of consent agenda items aloud so those in our viewing audience and council members will know what we're considering, and we'll take comment before we vote. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks, Mayor Egan. Let me share my screen, and that way folks can actually see what we're voting on tonight for the consent agenda. Everybody got that? Yeah. Tonight's consent agenda, it looks like we have 11 items. And the first one, as always, is approving accounts payable. Tonight, City Council is being asked to approve accounts payable in the amount of $1,366,157.45. Number 2 is the first reading and preliminary adoption of an ordinance. City Council this evening is setting a public hearing on November 29th of 2021 and preliminarily adopting an ordinance generally amending Title 20 Missoula Municipal Code, which is the city's zoning ordinance, to incorporate revisions in the following chapters: 20.10 business and commercial districts, 20.15, which is industrial and manufacturing districts, 20.45 accessory uses and structures, 20.100 terminology, and 20.105 use classifications, and create section number 20.40.083 and use and building specific standards. And we kind of buried the lead in the motion, but basically this ordinance is to incorporate regulations concerning legislative changes in the cannabis industry. And after the public hearing, or prior to the public hearing, Land Use and Planning Committee will have a preview of this ordinance on November 17th of 2021. Number 3 is to approve the purchase and installation of fencing from Grizzly Fence for an approved camping site and Garden City compost for a total of $41,410. And number 4 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a professional services agreement with IMEG, which is an engineering firm here in town, for a water main replacement on East Front Street from Madison Street to Jackson at a cost not to exceed $84,840. Number 5 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign a professional services agreement with IMEG for the Urban Renewal District 3 Water and Sidewalk Project at a cost not to exceed $172,785. Number 6 is to approve and authorize the mayor to direct Public Works and Mobility staff to conduct a speed study for the entirety of George Elmer Drive between the limits of Mullen Road to the south and Plus Way to the north, and set up a temporary speed limit for the same at 30 miles per hour. Number 7 is to authorize the mayor to direct Public Works and Mobility staff to conduct a speed study for Upper Miller Creek Drive between the Missoula County line and Jeff Drive, and to set a temporary speed limit for the same at 35 miles per hour. Number 8 is to set a public hearing for Monday, November 8th, 2021, to consider the funding recommendations made by the staff scoring committee for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Innovation Funding Round and the Triennial Affordable Housing Trust. And number 9 is to set a public hearing for November 15th of 2021 with final consideration on November 29th, 2021 for a resolution amending the annual appropriations for the city of Missoula, Montana, as set forth in the fiscal year 2022 budget and capital improvement program. Number 10 is to approve the Land and Water Conservation Fund sub-recipient grant agreement and authorize the mayor to sign pending completion of National Parks Park Service consultation processes. And this is for a grant that we are receiving for West Side Park. And number 11, finally, is to the first reading and preliminary adoption of an ordinance. FYI, state law requires that city council conduct 2 readings on ordinances. So that's what we're doing. The first reading tonight, we're setting a public hearing on November 15th of 2021 and preliminarily adopting an ordinance rezoning lots 20 through 24 of the Carline Edition, block 34 and lots 18B, 6,286 square feet of lots 17, 18, and 19 of the Carline Edition, number 3, block 34, all located in section 32, township 12 north, range 19 west. And in English, that property location is at 2520 Schilling Street and 2134 Dearborn Avenue, located in the northwestern corner of the intersection of Schilling and Dearborn. The proposal is to rezone or to zone the property from RM 2.7 multi-dwelling to B2-2, which is a community business zoning district in the city, and refer the item to the Land Use and Planning Committee for presentation on November 17th at the conclusion of the hearing. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Questions or comments from council members? Ms. Vasika?
Thank you. May I speak to 5.3 briefly?
You may.
Thanks. So this is the purchase of the fencing for the authorized camping site and Garden City compost. I mentioned this last Wednesday, but at committee meetings, but since committee meetings are not as well audienced as city council meetings, I just wanted to briefly mention this again. A lot of folks and businesses on Clark Fork Lane expressed concerns about the use of this property for an authorized camping site, but because the city is, or because the land is city owned, it does not need to go through council to be used for an authorized camping site. And so because we were unable to vote for the use of this land, I am in support of this fence to help with some of the concerns that the neighbors had. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none. Anyone in the audience care to comment on any of the items on the consent agenda? And seeing none, we will have a roll call vote.
Thanks, Marianne. On the consent agenda, Anderson.
Yes.
Becerra.
Yes.
Contos.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yeah.
Vasika
Yes.
and West.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is
Marty,
nine.
this is Gwen, and I am present. Sorry, I was late to the meeting, and I will vote yes.
Thank you. Let me update the roll. It doesn't let me let you vote until I check you in. All right, so that is now 10 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you. Consent agenda is approved. We have no comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, nor the community forum this evening. We do have one special presentation in the form of a proclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, whereas 45,000 Montana youth will experience the death of a parent or sibling before their 25th birthday, and whereas many individuals feel misunderstood in the wake of loss, thinking that their grief is invisible to those around them, and whereas all bereaved youth need advocates supporting them as they navigate a world without their dear person, and whereas effective grief support can help mitigate against possible negative outcomes by fostering positive coping mechanisms and resiliency, and whereas recognizing this month serves to build a foundation of support for grieving youth, strengthening a national community of bereaved individuals, support service organizations, and community members. And whereas our community is committed to supporting one another, working to raise awareness of children's grief and ensure that no child grieves alone, now therefore I, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula in the state of Montana, hereby recognize the month of November as Children's Grief Awareness Month. And I happen to have had a chance to spend a little time last week with the good folks from Tamarack Grief Resource Center, who do remarkable work in our community to help folks get through very challenging times in their lives. And it turns out this community is full of those organizations, and we are incredibly fortunate to live in a place where people take care of one another. So thanks to Tamarack and their crew. We have no additional special presentations. We do have one public hearing this evening. Public hearings are required by state law and our council rules. We hear from folks we serve with regard to a variety of issues in a formal way. Following a staff report, we will entertain public comment and retain, the public hearing will remain open for a week until council moves to final consideration and adoption or denial of whatever is before the body. Our lone public hearing this evening is on an application from TDS Metrocom limited liability company for a cable franchise. And Mr. Nugent, are you providing our staff report this evening?
I sure am.
Well, now we're all in trouble.
Oh, okay, you might be.
This may be
a
the first in 16 years.
This is a competitive cable franchise application. This will be the very first time that Missoula has ever had a competitive cable TV franchise. Historically, we have had 3 different geographic areas that were served by cable TV, but none of them would merge and compete. They did merge ultimately. The main one in the Missoula Valley did buy up the one in the Rattlesnake Creek and the one in the Grant Creek. And those also survived by providing service to East Missoula and other areas outside the city, in addition to the limited provision inside the city. The city has extensive ordinances about cable television franchises that we've had on the books for decades, but usually you don't see much action in this area because historically the cable TV franchises were for 15 years. Now, apparently with modern technology, they seem to be going down to 10 years. The applicants usually want 10 years. We are in the process of negotiating renewal with Charter Spectrum, but last November, TDS contacted the city and wanted to know what it had to do to apply to have a cable TV franchise to compete with Charter Spectrum. A few weeks later, another cable company called Vast also contacted the city and wanted to know what they would have to do to apply for a cable TV franchise to compete in Missoula. That's why in the report from our consultant, you'll see reference to applications plural in that in a couple of instances, and that's because We created an application form, set a deadline in late July of 2021 by which they had to submit their applications. And then TDS was the only one that actually applied. VAST, we've never heard from again. We had informed everyone, including Charter Spectrum, TDS, and VAST, of the potential that there could be 3 companies participating, but we don't anticipate that VAST will follow up any further. TDS earlier this year got a franchise from Billings, the city of Billings, and they also got one in Spokane. And our cable TV consultant that we've been using for many years negotiated on behalf of Spokane for the cable franchise over in Spokane. Now, the primary purpose of this public hearing is that we had 120 days to review and see if we thought that TDS was financially capable of coming in and competing and constructing a cable TV franchise system. And you'll see in the report from the consultant that they're going to invest approximately $46 million in a cable TV franchise, and it will take 24 to 48 months, most likely, for the build out. That's within the city limits. Of course, they'll probably eventually be moving along outside the city limits as well. They will be phasing in their operation. So as soon as they can get an area service, they will start providing that service. Our cable TV consultant informs us that the real item that these cable companies are after is the high-speed internet, but under the federal law and the FCC, they can get their toe in the door, so to speak, by having the access to the public right-of-way by having a cable TV franchise. And they will provide some cable TV franchise services, but they also are going to be providing other services. You'll notice on the second page that of the consultant's report that they'll deliver high-speed internet, TV entertainment, and phone services. So they're going to be a multi-purpose entity that will be competing in Missoula. We have had a lot of contact with TDS. They've come to town a couple of times. They've met with MCAT at their offices. And at that time, Ross and Kevin from City Engineering were there, as was I. And we had over an hour discussion about what would be necessary for use of the public right-of-way. We also know that the city engineers had a follow-up meeting with the city, or with the engineers from TDS, to discuss some of the necessity for permits and inspections and approvals. One of the things that TDS is concerned about is whether they're going to get timely approvals. They're worried about being able to keep moving. They will have multiple entities that they subcontract with, putting in the cable TV system at the same time in the community. The purpose of this public hearing is to determine if it appears that they have the financial capability to proceed to do this. As you know, from, if you've read the report, in the summary, in the fourth paragraph of the summary, the consultant says, "We see no basis on which the city can deny the TDS application due to a lack of financial qualifications." So the purpose, and there's a resolution that accompanies this. Marty Rabine helped fine tune that resolution to meet her desired city clerk standards. But we need to have a resolution that authorizes the mayor to proceed with cable TV franchise negotiations. We've had a lot of preliminary discussion. We've even exchanged a couple of initial draft cable TV franchise proposals between the two entities. They are hoping to have this approval and a cable TV franchise by the end of the calendar year. So you may see this again later this year in the form of the cable TV franchise itself. And with that, I think I've given the general overview of historically what's happened and currently what's happening with respect to the desires of TDS and what the purpose of this public hearing is, which is to indicate that there is adequate financial capability and the mayor is authorized to proceed to negotiate a cable TV franchise. We will be using our cable TV consultant who we've had for years because he specializes in only doing cable TV franchise work. And that's the end.
Thank you, Counselor. I was going to suggest I think that's the first staff report I've had from you in 16 years, and you're pretty good at it. So we may bring you back again for another one of those within the next 16 years or so.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Thank you. With that, I am happy to open the public hearing. Once again, acknowledging the fact that council won't take action this evening and the public hearing will remain open for a week until council meets again. And seeing no hands raised among participants, are there questions or comments from council members this evening? And seeing none of those, once again, that public hearing will remain open. We'll move on to our final consideration agenda item. Items here have had a public hearing, and that hearing has been held open again to receive additional public comment. Tonight, the chairperson of the standing committee responsible for the motion will make said motion, and council will take action one way or another. Our first item for final consideration this evening comes from the Land Use and Planning Committee. Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Mayor. I move we adopt a resolution to annex and incorporate within the boundaries of the city of Missoula, lots 2 through 8 in the Linda Vista 11th supplement, and a portion of Joy Drive adjacent, lots 1 through 41, common area 1 and 2, and portions of Max Drive, Maggie May Drive, and Guinevere Drive in the Linda Vista 18th supplement, and portion of Miller Creek Road, and tract 3A of certificate of survey number 6798, and a portion of Jim Loop Drive within the tract, all shown on exhibits A and B, and located in section 13, township 12 north, range 20 west, and to zone the property PUD Miller Creek View Edition, subject to the conditions of annexation as amended and shown in memo number 1 and number 2, dated October 21st and October 29th, 2021, based on the findings of fact in the staff report and reported in the memos.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. Anderson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor and Chair, for putting forward the motion. I think we had a pretty good discussion in Land Use and Planning last week about the fact that traffic and some of the considerations and the changes that have happened since these original developments were, or this original subdivision was platted, have changed, and we really can't take that into consideration when allowing for this annexation request to come through. I also think it's good to point out that 2 out of the 3 parcels that we're annexing actually currently have development on there, and for whatever XYZ reason, those were not already part of the city, but they are receiving city services, and it will not actually affect the traffic flow because those are in existence already. So we're really talking about the 1 parcel that is the land where there will be new houses developed onto it that will add to additional traffic on Upper or Miller Creek Road down into the intersection of Lower Miller Creek and Highway 93. I am going to move forward with asking the staff to look into some more potential traffic studies or infrastructure. I do think that we need to start kind of ramping up our ability to address that, but we cannot as a part of a function of this annexation. So just wanted to put that out there because I've heard from several constituents who are very concerned about the fact that we're continuing to grow and really feeling that there is a pinch point getting in and out of the Linda Vista Millard Creek neighborhood. So just wanted to put that on the record that we cannot kind of take that as a factor into this motion tonight. So thanks so much.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, any attendees care to comment? And seeing no hands up there, we'll have a roll call vote.
Okay, on the resolution to annex and zone, Becerra. Hello? Becerra?
We lose her.
Maybe Mirta is off the meeting right now. Contos,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and it looks like Becerra is absent for this vote. So that is 9 ayes and 3 absent.
And the motion is approved. Our second item for final consideration this evening is the adoption of our long-range transportation plan. Ms. Becerra would be most likely to make that motion, but in her absence, I would ask Mr. Hess, please.
Thanks. And this actually did come through LUP. So I'd be happy to. It was represented otherwise on the agenda, but I'd be happy to make the motion, which is to adopt a resolution to adopt the 2020 Missoula Long Range Transportation Plan, Missoula Connect 2050, as an issue plan of the 2035 Missoula City Growth Policy. And I'd speak to the motion briefly, if I may.
Mr. Hess.
This is sort of I mentioned this in committee, but this is sort of a pro forma action just to adopt one plan as a function of another. But it's a good opportunity to highlight some really good planning work that's gone on here. Our long-range transportation plan is a federally mandated plan that's updated every 4 years. But that plan contains a good deal of innovation and a lot of aspirational objectives around how we might get around our community in 30 years. So I encourage folks to take a look at it if they haven't. I've said before that a good land use plan is a good transportation plan, a good climate plan, a good equity plan, a good housing plan, all rolled into one. The way that we build out our community and the way that we develop our community has really meaningful impacts on our quality of life, on the cost of housing, on our climate, and on our carbon emissions. And it's extremely important. And this is a good plan, and I'm happy to support it, and I'm happy to have it integrated with the rest of our planning documents.
Well said, Mr. Hess. Thank you. Any additional comment? Ms. Merritt? And for the record, Ms. Becerra is back.
Thanks. I want to just agree with everything that Jordan said. I'm fully in support of this, and I want to give a big thanks to Aaron Wilson and his staff for all the hard work they've done. They had to pivot as they were working on this to be able to gather public comment online instead of in person. And I just really want to say that in my time on council, one of the things that I've noted is the great job that Aaron does with getting that public comment and having meetings that are really that people feel a part of. So Aaron, thank you for your work in that arena. I just hope that it continues. Thanks.
Mr. Wilson has turned on his camera so he can bask in the praise, and I don't blame him a bit. That praise, I think, is universal. Aaron and your team did remarkably well, and you picked a good consultant, and it all went swimmingly. Ms. Becerra.
I apologize. I got kicked out of the meeting by my poor internet service, but I also wanted to provide some comments about the long-range transportation plan. One of the very first things that we see in the plan is an acknowledgement, and it reads, the Missoula MPO acknowledged that we are in Aboriginal territories of the Salish and Kalispel people. We honor the path they have always shown us in caring for this place and for the future generations to come. And I think that that really encapsulates what makes this plan so intentionally different. This plan makes recommendations for projects and programs that will have a long-lasting impact in our community and for future generations. It also enhances equity of investments across town. It promotes better connections between neighborhoods via a number of transportation modes. And it was super successful at engaging people even during a pandemic. For that, I really want to thank staff and the consultants for all your really informative updates and engagement throughout the process, and excited that this is completed.
Thank you, Ms. Becerra. Any additional council comment? Ms. Cheryl.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to say, for those that are not transportation people, I had no idea I would think about transportation and connections of roads quite as much as I do now that I'm on council. So I just appreciate that we have really qualified, engaged people in city government and in our community, and I'm excited to support this.
Thank you, Ms. Cheryl. Further discussion? All right, seeing none, any attendees care to comment this evening? And seeing none there, we will have a roll call vote.
Okay, on the resolution for the transportation plan, Contos
Yes.
and Hess,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Vasika,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
and Becerra.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is 10 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you. And the motion's approved. We have no additional items for final consideration this evening. I have no communications from the mayor. We'll start council comments this evening with Ms. Cheryl.
No comment. Thank you.
And Mr. Contos.
No, thank you.
Mr. Ramos.
Pass.
Ms. Vasika.
Don't forget to vote. The polls close tomorrow at 8 p.m. Do not mail your ballot. It will not be counted because the postmarked date does not count. So be sure to deliver it in person at the elections office on Russell and Wyoming Street. Thanks.
Ms. Anderson.
Ms. Vasika took my comments for tonight. Yes, encourage folks to get out and vote. Have those ballots in. It's your chance to have a voice in our democracy, and it takes all of us to show up to make it work. So thanks so much.
Mr. Hess.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Ms. West.
Pass.
Ms. Jones.
Just wanted to first of all say thank you to everyone for a very successful emergency winter shelter open house at the Johnson Street facility. That facility actually opens this evening. They are staffed, but they still need to hire more people to be fully staffed. So They are offering good wages and good bonuses to get people hired and retain them this winter. So if you're interested in working, please contact the Poverello. That's the entity that's running both the Poverello and the Emergency Winter Shelter Facility. And I think it's going to be a good situation this winter where we've got some good things in place to make it work well for the shelter, the surrounding neighborhood, and serve everyone well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Ms. Merritt.
Thanks. I'm going to make another pitch for judges for the Missoula Speech and Debate Tournament that is being held on November 12th and 13th. I have a feeling that there's probably a few former speech and debaters here amongst the council. If not, they should have been. It's a great opportunity for kids to learn public speaking skills and critical thinking skills. They do a ton of research and memorization, and there is a creative aspect with the interpretation events. So it really gives these kids a great opportunity to showcase their skills and to learn new ones. But in order to put on a tournament like this, we need judges. So if you're interested, go to the Missoula Sentinel website and look up the speech and debate activity, and you'll find a judge sign up form. A couple hours of your time would mean a whole lot to all these students. Thanks.
Thanks, Ms. Merritt. And Ms. Becerra.
Pass, thank you.
All right. We have no committee reports this evening, friends, nor do we have any new business. Are there any additional items to be referred? Seeing none of those, any miscellaneous communications, reports, petitions, or announcements? And once again, seeing none, as always, I thank you for your service, and we will be adjourned.